This is Rogues on the Road with Matt Froman and Rich Marshall, where we talk food, travel, craft beverages, and everything in between.
Welcome to Rogues on the Road. This is our 7th podcast, live podcast. I'm Matt Froman. This is
Rich Marshall.
Rich Marshall. And in the corner, we've got a very special guest. Nobody puts him in the corner, by the way.
Nobody puts baby in the corner.
He's Tracy Allen. He is a, we always talk about jack of all trades. You are truly a master of all trades. You really are.
Thanks,
your label that you put it's director, image maker, janitor, mover of booze.
Yes. Boove Mooser. That's correct.
Boove Mooser. And I think that's a good place to begin tonight, because I think
with our token beverage
or beverages.
Yes, beverages.
So you come all the way from Yonkers, New York,
correct,
which is not far.
Right.
You live in Dobbs Ferry, New York,
that's correct,
which is right outside New York City.
Yep. And
you've taken on this it's a new project for you.
Yeah.
Which one?
A couple of months.
Yeah, which one?
A couple of months ago, I met these pretty remarkable humans who had a distillery in Yonkers, New York, of all places. And when I met them, they were making a pretty interesting product. It's a fig eau de vie that legitimately has been made in Morocco for hundreds, if not thousands of years. So this is basically moonshine in Morocco.
Right. And it's traditionally a Jewish.
Correct.
Like this was a small part of Morocco that had a community of Jewish people that
Mahia distillers, right? And the thing is in Morocco, for the most part, it's an illegal thing. You can't drink in Morocco. It's a mostly Muslim country.
Okay.
So the Jewish community in Morocco, many of them made Mahia, right? And they would sell it out the back door. Okay. So it was moonshine.
Yeah.
That's really what it was.
Right. And you have, if you're making moonshine, you try and find whatever fermentables you have.
That is
so
correct.
I would imagine there it would be.
So they were using figs,
Yep.
which is really what we're using here, dates, raisins, anything at all that they could extract sugar from and distill on these little tiny pot stills in their kitchens, basically.
Right.
And that's how they were making Mahia. So the master distiller, David Namias, I'll let you figure out how to spell it. He came here when he was about 19 years old, and his mom continued to make Mahia in Brooklyn. And he was like, "Mom, it was illegal there. It's illegal here.
Yeah.
You can't make liquor in your kitchen." And she's like, "Whatever." So she continued to make Mahia, and David decided he wanted to legitimize it. So he went and got this beautiful custom-made still and started making Mahia like 5 years ago with his wife, Dorit.
Okay.
I'll let you learn how to spell that too.
And I've actually met her at a farmer's market.
Yeah,
Yep.
And super amazing people. But when I met them, I realized that they had their heads down for 5 years just making product, right? They were like, we want to make the best product. And it was David in his crazy, kind of savant distiller kind of way. And I said, well, how are you guys selling this stuff? And they said, we're not. Don't know how we're doing it.
Wow.
So, for 5 years, they sold just enough to kind of keep the distillery moving and keeping it afloat. And they were like increasing their sales a little bit each year. So 3-4 months ago, I guess, I came on board and I said, I'm going to come in, I'm going to help you. I kind of put some skin in the game to make sure that, I had a vested interest. And so now we're out selling this juice all over New York. That's what I do every day. I move booze.
You move booze.
Yeah. So
you distill with them also?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. So for many years of my life, I've always wanted to understand this process better. I've distilled things.
Right.
My years in prison.
Of
no,
course.
I'm kidding. But I've distilled things in the past. Turned out horrible, very bad. You can't. You're right. If you're not good at it, you're just not good at it.
There's a trial and error part. Yeah. It's just like brewing beer, making wine. You got to start somewhere, and it may not be that good at the beginning.
Follow a recipe.
Right.
So this family recipe that these guys have been doing, David basically he basically emerged from the womb with mnemic knowledge of making Mahia. 7th generation Mahia distiller. And so I came in, I learned. We crushed figs. We put them in a huge 1,000-liter tank. We add a bunch of yeast, and it, it breaks it down, turns it into an alcohol, right? Then we put it in the still and extract. Yeah, we extract the actual alcohol. So this is it right here. I'm going to make you guys a cocktail.
Oh,
Awesome.
absolutely.
And you get your figs from California, I was reading?
They are California white figs.
Okay.
Correct. Now, here's a crazy part. So I got interested in this because of the Mahia. I invested and got really vested because of the rye that he makes.
Yeah.
So this kind of crazy Moroccan is
Yeah.
making American whiskey that could be the best rye I've ever had.
no.
It's really, really pretty good.
Conflict of interest.
Careful. Excuse me. Careful. You out of the room. Put him in the corner.
It's good.
It's good. Right?
It's not that good.
So it is.
It's phenomenal.
It's good. I enjoy it. I
Yeah.
really do. But coming from somebody who does it every day, I drink at least as much of your rye
Absolutely.
as I do this
Yeah.
rye.
And you drink more rye than I do.
I drink a
You are a rye connoisseur. This man.
bunch of rye.
Yeah,
like it.
Yeah. So
And when you, it was funny when you do your cocktails as you're going. When you told me about you're doing the Maya and there was whiskey, I'm
right.
like, it seemed like two totally different
Spectrums.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But
Well,
Did he start off with the whiskey?
what's that?
He started with the whiskey?
No,
No.
he started with the
Mahia?
Mahia. Right,
He
he
did.
started with the Mahia. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put about an ounce and a half of this Mahia, which is the fig, eau de vie, right?
okay. And is there Maya available? Are you guys pretty much the only distillery that's doing this in the United States?
We are the only distillery making Mahia in the U.S.
Oh, wow.
Right. So it's, and beautiful thing about it is that in Yonkers, New York, we are not only the only one doing Mahia, we are the only distillery in Yonkers. There's 2 in Westchester. We're the only one in Yonkers. So, the fact that these guys actually started making it there, which I think was just by accident,
Yeah.
was actually a pretty good thing for them.
Yeah. It's a good spot.
And Mahia compares to a brandy? Hence the fruit?
It is basically a brandy. So in English-speaking countries, anything that is distilled from fruit that is not a grape or grapes is considered an eau de vie, which means water of life.
Okay.
And Mahia, the word Mahia, funny enough, also means water of life in Hebrew and in Arabic. So in Morocco, if you say Mahia, you're saying water of life, which is eau de vie. So, yeah. So we're going to add a little bit of citrus, which always brightens this stuff up. I'm going to put a little bit of lemon and a little bit of lime juice in here.
Cool. This will be the first time I've had Maya before, but
This is the first cocktail
this
you've
is the
had,
first.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so
I'm excited.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun. So hopefully we can extract some lemon juice.
And can people buy this beyond the distillery?
People can buy this at several liquor stores. Like in New York City, for example, Astor has it. Astor Wines and Spirits has it. There's plenty of restaurants in New York City and in Westchester that are carrying it.
Okay, cool.
And they're making cocktails with it.
And you guys had a pretty big plug on New Year's.
Yeah. I didn't send you that photo. I should have sent you that
You
photo.
did. You did.
Oh, I did.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool.
So, so one of my very dear friends actually manages a bunch of big billboards down in Times Square.
Okay.
So the very first thing that happened when I showed up at the distillery, I said, we should probably put this on a billboard. And everybody looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, we're going to do that. We're going to actually get it on a billboard in Times Square, New Year's Eve, right behind the CNN stage.
Yeah.
Nobody believed me. They're like, we don't have $50,000. I'm sorry. Well, we got it on the billboards.
Yeah. And it was
How'd you do that?
It was a hell.
$1,000 later?
It was a hell of an ad. And you actually. So those of you that are listening, Tracy's director, cinematographer, producer. The video of, I thought it was a still image that you were putting up.
No. We put video.
It was.
Yeah,
and
we
it
put
was.
some video.
It was.
That's the way to do
It
it.
was
Yeah.
really well done.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It was really well done.
So
Okay, so what do we got?
I got to grab one more thing out of that box. So keep talking.
Oh God, I'm getting nervous.
Yeah, we're making.
You nervous?
What's new and good with you, mate?
What's
What have you been up to?
Oh God.
Vacation?
Yeah, but
Oh God.
All right, here we go.
We're good?
We're good.
all right.
So we're just gonna shake this up, and we're gonna give you guys a little
We got,
taste.
and I think we got like 3 cocktails coming.
Yeah, we
Oh,
got
God.
3. Yeah,
Who's
we got
driving?
3. But this one's really the toughest one because
Yeah.
the other ones are the ones I drink all the time.
All right. And what? So citrus, Mahia. That's it.
Right, and then some some simple syrup.
Okay. And which? What you've got some just normal simple syrup, not
Right.
the. Okay.
Right. So I think in this one we're going to put the thyme infused simple syrup in.
Oh, cool.
All right. So here we go.
Cool.
All right. So you guys are going to
I'm
share
getting
this?
thirsty. You want me to come over? I'll come over. Hold on.
Come over.
I'm coming over.
It's coming over.
There you go.
Looks good.
Enjoy that.
Gypsy,
Thank you,
you
sir.
have some?
Yes, I'd love
Let
one.
Gypsy try
I
some.
would love.
You want to split it up? Can we split it up, or should we?
Oh, let Gypsy have that one. You guys know each other. You guys can drink out of the same glass.
We're shy.
You get to try.
First off, I like how it's in a beaker.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's
It's a science project. He's never tried this before. He's leaving it to us.
You know, 8 or 10 years of being a science kind of teacher.
Ooh.
Yeah. You gotta have.
I like the
beaker
sour
glasses.
on that.
Yeah, there's some lemon and lime in
Yeah,
there. So.
very good.
Oh, that is good.
Yeah, not bad, right?
Yeah, very good.
So-
You just get this undertone of fig,
Afterwards.
Right. It stays with you.
Yeah, it does.
For a little while.
Yeah.
but
That's
it's
right.
this isn't sweet. This is
That one's not sweet,
This
no.
is like a savory.
No, that's very savory. Now, what we've done, a lot of people that are doing this on cocktail menus are doing it with, savory elements, right? So
Okay.
I've got a guy that's doing some Moroccan mint tea, some honey syrup in
Right.
there, but then he also adds rosemary.
Oh, wow.
Crazy
Yeah.
good.
You would think any
Herbs?
Middle Eastern
Herbs.
herb
Yeah.
would,
Herb.
would do well.
Cardamom.
Really?
Cardamom.
really?
Yeah, cardamom. Cardamom, they're doing it. Cardamom, thyme.
Lavender.
Lavender is
Yeah,
a big deal. I think the elderberry, I think people are adding a little bit of the elderberry syrup.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, what really brightens this stuff up is the citrus. Put a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
citrus
really.
in there. It's really wonderful.
Yeah, that's good.
Good.
And what's the proof? What's the
Oh,
proof?
yeah.
Is it 80?
It's 80 proof.
It is 80 proof.
Yeah, it
It's
comes
not-
out of the still
Yeah.
pretty high, though. It
Yeah.
does come out of the still high. And for those of you that, have an understanding of what you do, the thing about David is David does not leave the tails. So in the distilling process, right, the first part of the alcohol that comes out is called the heads.
Okay.
You want to take that out.
Heads-
You want to get
Lose
rid of
it.
the heads.
Yeah, heads,
It'll-
hearts, and tails.
It'll make you blind,
Really?
right? Because that's methanol. You want to get rid of that,
Okay.
right? But then you get into what's called the heart of the spirit, and that's what you really want to get out of the Mahia. A lot of distilleries, I won't name any names, but a lot of distilleries will then let it run into the tail for
Yeah.
quite some time just to increase their yield.
And the tail's dead?
Unfortunately, and especially when
bitter.
you're dealing
Yeah.
with like pot stills,
Yeah.
you can get some burnt flavorings. It's like the bottom of the pot kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know,
If you cook some sauce down to the very last bit,
Right. What's left?
right, it gets
Yeah.
a little bitter and it gets
Yeah, yeah.
burnt, and
Yeah,
right,
right.
so you want to not let that stay in. But a lot of distilleries will. David refuses to. He
Good.
gets into the tails and he says, "That's it. I'm
that's
out."
it. Good.
Right.
That's
so
good.
It's a
It's
very,
a very
nice
clean.
Yeah.
All right, so now the rye whiskey. You've had rye whiskey.
I've had your white whiskey.
You've had mine.
You've had your
This rye whiskey, I was, I'm always a little unsure. And the amazing thing about this rye whiskey is because it's made in the same production area as Mahia.
Yeah.
It actually
take on
it actually takes on
the fig.
the fig.
Really?
Right.
It's just like going to Scotland. There's a great distillery called Brooklotic.
Oh, yeah.
And Michelle If Michelle's
Michelle
listening,
Carlin.
yeah,
She was on our show a few weeks
yeah,
ago.
we had a true Scotswoman on, and
Who
she
told us to pronounce it
yeah,
appropriately.
yeah,
I don't remember
yeah,
what it was.
You
got to throw some
there's a
phlegm in there somewhere.
lot
Yeah.
of, but they do an unpeated Scotch.
Unpeated.
Unpeated.
Wait, is it Highland or Lowland?
No, this is Isla.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is Isla. So it's an unpeated Scotch.
Really?
But because it's made in a Isla peated facility, it
Still
still
takes on
is
that.
very well peated.
Right.
So when you try the rye, it actually remember that Mahia taste because it takes on a richness
Take on the
of.
flavor.
There's a fruity, almost a cherry
Yeah.
front end to the rye that I think really.
Because ryes can be quite harsh and just.
Well, they can be, and it's the unfortunate part about rye, and this is one of the things I'm very proud of this product with, is that they don't use 100% rye. They'll
Right.
use whatever they legally need to use
Right.
as far as the rye, and then they'll throw a bunch of other grains in
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Some use it as flavor profiles, which is fine. But David, again, in his kind of weird mad scientist way, said, I want to make a rye and throw the commercial ideas out the window, and let's see if it's a $400 bottle of rye. So be it,
Yeah.
but I want to make the best rye I can.
It's very good.
Yeah, so he went upstate New York, and he sourced a bunch of certified organic rye, brought it home, put it in the, cooked the mash, right? And by cooking that, you break down all that starches, so you have something that the yeast can actually feed on, right? You need sugar.
Yep.
And then fermented it and distilled it, and same process, right? Where he was getting rid of the heads, kept the hearts, and
Lose
really
the
kind
tails,
of
right?
lose the
Yeah.
tails. And so what he came up with was this extremely approachable rye. It's very, it's a very easy drinking rye. And for somebody like me that makes a lot of cocktails with the rye, so Sazerac, which is what I'm
Yeah.
making right now, happens to be my best and most favorite cocktail. And it's even better now that I use Taconic maple syrup.
Whoa, there you go.
Yeah.
Throw that plug in there.
So he's making Sazerac.
Which is?
Sazerac is a very, very traditional, considered
Right.
the first cocktail of the United States.
Right.
It's four simple ingredients.
Four, really. So we start with a little bit of Peychaud's bitters. Antoine Peychaud, classic, was in New Orleans, was one of the kind of original mixologists who actually helped create this cocktail.
Doing it well.
And the word Sazerac actually comes from the type of cognac that they were using in the drink in the beginning. Well, when the blight hit in the early 1900s and killed a bunch of vines and destroyed a lot of the grape production, they changed to a American rye cocktail.
Right.
So as an American rye cocktail, I think it's actually better. So a little bit of Peychaud's bitters, normally sugar or simple syrup.
Or it's conic maple.
But I'm using the bourbon maple syrup
Yeah.
because
It's pretty good.
Grade A organic maple syrup, aged 3 months in bourbon barrels.
Don't get
Good
me
on
started.
pancakes.
Don't get
It's
me
good.
started.
It's good
And
smoke.
then some rye, right?
Okay.
Now, I'm going to put about... We'll get a little more in there.
Because we only have one. We have a couple of glasses, right? We got.
Yeah, but
We'll make it work.
we'll make it work.
We'll make it
Don't
work.
worry about it. So
And
we'll do
the-
this,
Yep.
and then...
Rye, Peychaud bitters. This is so crucial.
And what is that?
Absinthe.
Ooh.
Absinthe. Yeah. So,
Is that legal?
Completely
Didn't
legal.
used to be, right?
It was always legal. It doesn't make
Yeah.
you trip. It doesn't. I mean, you drink enough of anything, it's going to screw you up. Yeah.
well, and what happened in the absinthe world?
Yeah.
So, the original wormwood absinthe that you find in Europe, you go to freaking England, or, what you're going to find is you're going to find an absinthe that's full of a Thujaune, and Thujaune, if there's enough of it. If it,
Will mess with you.
it's a poison. If it accumulates in your brain, it'll actually make you sick, and make you trip, frankly. But the Thujaune is what makes you trip. not
And
the absinthe.
and you'd have to consume
a massive
a
amount.
massive
Right.
amount. You would die from alcohol poisoning before that happened. It was actually put out by the wine producers of Paris.
Correct.
At the turn of the century to have you heard the term fake news?
Fake news.
Fake news.
Who says that?
I don't know.
I don't either.
It was fake news, basically to try and bring back the wine industry, because absinthe and the way you produced and consumed it, it was a whole procedure on how you would consume absinthe with the sugar cube and these
Right.
beautiful silver
Drips.
and so
Spoons.
it became very, very popular,
Creative.
and there was posters put up at the turn of the century.
It was fashionable.
That was fashionable. But then the posters were put up by the wine industry showing people like doing horrible things.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And from that point on, it seemed like it was, oh my God. And then absinthe started coming back to America probably about 10 years ago, 15
Right.
years ago. And people are like, oh, is it legal?
Yeah, right.
Of course it's legal.
Of course it's legal. So what happened is in the United States,
I'm gonna
they
go grab it.
Come grab it, yeah. They basically said, look, we're going to let absinthe in, but what we're going to do is we're going to curtail the amount of Thujaune that can be in the actual
Right.
product,
Okay.
right? So they instead
So
of
they
600,
control it. Right.
instead of 600 parts per million, let's say, they said we'll allow 40 parts per
Okay.
million. Right? I could be wrong. Could be blowing that.
Do you have some?
Not yet, but I'm gonna. I'm making it in a pint glass. Don't worry. I'm just
Don't be
gonna do
shy.
it.
Yeah. For the whole night.
Yeah, right. So that's the story about the absinthe.
That smells so good, dude. That is a Sazerac.
And this is where I
That's very good.
Legitimately
And it's not
make-
it's not a rye.
No, and that, a lot of New York ryes.
very good.
A lot of New York ryes tend to have a regional, very approachable, light,
right.
diverse use,
Yes.
like kind of profile to
Right.
them. Very signature, very different than Kentucky ryes. It's funny, the Sazerac, easiest thing to make and the easiest thing to screw up.
Well, there was a huge kind of resurgence of the classic cocktail, as we all know. Certainly, if you're living in the brown spirit world, right? There's a huge resurgence of the Sazerac, and what happens is a lot of people try to advance the Sazerac
Yeah.
or elevate
Change
the
it,
Sazerac,
right.
and frankly,
Well,
most mixologists don't understand,
Yeah.
how to do something really well.
Right.
I've had some very elevated Sazeracs in the most unusual places, but when I first tasted this, this Taconic maple syrup, I knew
was
that
a
this
winner.
was going to be a winner.
There you go.
Trace, this is
Happy.
this is the best. This is the best Sazerac I've ever had.
Well, good.
Yeah.
I wonder if it has anything to do with that
It
crazy,
it might get just a tad better if we use Taconic, but I'm just saying.
Just saying.
Leave it there.
They're kind of like
Cheech and Chong.
If I didn't have this chain around my ankle right now, I would be out the door. No, I'm kidding.
that is if you've never had a Sazerac, it is a quintessential historic cocktail.
One of the ones you got to know. If you're a mixologist in this world, if you're making drinks,
Yep.
you better know how to make a Sazerac.
Absolutely.
And you better know how to make the classic Sazerac. If you can do that,
You can mess around.
then you can mess around. You got to learn the rules before you break the
you go.
rules.
And one of the things that I've learned from making Sazeracs is it's using some kind of atomizer or perfume sprayer. Even putting a drop or two in doesn't. The spritz of the
Right.
the perfume bottle really. It sounds like it doesn't make a difference. It does make a difference.
Just a spritz.
Well, yeah, the kind of the classic way is to pour a little bit of absinthe in some ice in a rocks glass,
Okay.
right? And as you let that kind of cure, right, and
Yep.
the absinthe takes on a white, milky look to
Yeah.
it when it gets cold. And then as you're making the Sazerac, right, as soon as you're done, you kind of roll it around inside the glass and then dump everything out.
Okay.
Well, I realized pretty early that if you're taking, a half an ounce of absinthe and you're putting it in every Sazerac, I will go through a bottle of absinthe personally in
Sure. Yeah.
9 days.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yep.
not, but
You?
very quickly.
Maybe.
Maybe. So I went to whatever my local little beauty supply store was, and I bought a $1.49
Spritz
atomizer,
bottle.
and this 2 or 3 spritzes of this.
That's it.
Good to go.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And I've had this, for, I don't know, 4 or 5
Yeah.
weeks
Well,
and barely gone through any of
Right.
it.
I don't know much about billers. Billers vary hugely, and I guess change the taste of whatever you're making.
Yeah, bitters is basically a spirit with some kind of herbal flavoring and a bittering component.
Okay.
Right.
So there's a million different types.
So you have your favorites. And
Right.
Tend to stick with them.
But, it's funny. I tend to always go back to Peychaud's, to Angostura. One of the local ones out of I think they're out of Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Is Hella Bitters or the Manhattan.
Yeah. Jamari Pinkard.
Phenomenal.
Great guy.
Phenomenal.
Super cool cat.
Yeah.
And he does a couple citrus versions, and he does a couple like herbal and floral versions.
Yep.
Yeah, Hella Bitters is
quite a king.
And it can get into the realm of weird.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh, you've had chocolate bitters, and there's all kinds of crazy
Jalapeno
bitters out there. Yeah, but the great part about a bitter, right, with a cocktail is that you can manage flavor profiles within the spirit and allow them to really kind of come through. And if you use a good bitters, you are not masking that. So many people, in the mixology world, they'll put a splash of crappy cranberry juice or something.
Right.
And you can do the same thing with a nice cranberry bitter and not, bust up the spirit.
Right. And it stays separate. Like you actually take. Yeah.
You're getting both of those flavors without like masking anything.
That's great.
Yeah.
So anyway,
phenomenal. Cheers.
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 Gentlemen.
Cha-ching. I've got a
Cha-ching.
little bit of an empty cup, but that's good.
Well, as soon as you have an
sharing.
as soon as you have an empty cup, let me know and I'll make the Boulevardier. Yeah.
The Boulevardier is also a classic.
Yes.
But I want to get into a little bit of your background.
Sure.
And then maybe we bust out the Boulevardier because I'm already feeling this right, which is good, man. That's good.
Is that what they're supposed to
man.
happen?
That's good.
There you go.
So when you're not doing this,
Yeah.
Real quick, are you guys open to the public?
Oh yeah.
Kind of, yes. So we are a tasting room at the distillery. So what that really means is we can let people in as long as they're private or they're like by appointments.
Okay.
So the answer is yes.
Okay.
Go on our website.
And give us a shout.
Right,
Okay.
and then you can sign up to come and see the distillery
That's cool.
and taste the products, and and we'll do private events and stuff like
Brilliant.
that.
And we'll post on our Facebook page, our Instagram. It's already up there, actually.
Love it.
The
Yeah.
link is already there. But definitely, if you're in the New York area,
youngest,
you've got to visit because you guys just opened up, right?
The tasting room,
the actual tasting room. So,
That was part of that was one of my very first things when I kind of took on the brand. I was like,
Let's get this open.
you have this amazing resource here.
Yeah.
Why aren't we using it?
Right.
Right.
And the distillery itself was very utilitarian. You walked in, it was like there was stuff stored, and it was just like a place to make booze,
Right.
which is thumbs
Awesome.
up. But and then we had this huge kind of area that all we needed was a couple coats of paint and some shelves to put the stuff, and there
Good
we
to go.
and it's an experience. It's a
right.
it's a traditional spirit that needs
Introduction.
Put it out there.
Yeah, right. I've
It's
never had
important.
it. Right.
A lot of spirits. Everyone makes all these things, all these different spirits, but they don't really have a story.
Right.
Or history, right.
You've got a story. It's an authentic story.
Yep.
And it's a historical story.
Keep it going.
It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, we're excited.
That's cool. All right. So when you're not,
What's your other pies? Your
oh
fingers
my
are?
God,
When I'm not moving,
Tracy,
booze.
man, so you went to film school.
I did.
You also had, and we don't have to go into it in great detail. You also had a military career, right?
Yep. Well, not really a military career. Let's say I worked for I did some stuff with a 3-letter group.
Gotcha.
Yeah, somewhere south of here.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Good.
I'll
Yeah,
look it
we're
up.
good. All right. They're listening.
Okay.
They are listening.
Let's just
Hey guys.
let's just
How
put
you
it that
been?
way.
As you
They're
should.
listening. So you went to film school. We're going to see some of your still photos. We're going to see a video clip. You have some of the most powerful media I've seen.
Wow.
And
And are you still doing this?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
still,
it's
still
your
doing
passion,
it.
your hobby?
Yeah.
so where did that come from?
When I was a kid, we all experienced the big kind of movies, Star Wars and Godfather, right? We all went through that. I happened to see these movies, and I was always wondering, how did they do that?
Right.
Why did they decide to use this versus this, camera angle, whatever? And I was fortunate enough to get a copy, a VHS copy when I was very young of Orson Welles' very first movie. We all, right? A Rosebud. We all know this movie, right? So
Citizen Kane.
Citizen Kane. Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have said. For those of you, yeah. So Citizen Kane is probably one of the most pivotal film experiences that you can see as a filmmaker. You have to watch it. But what I realized was I didn't know anything about the guy that made it. So Citizen Kane, right, was made by this guy, and I said, "Oh, that's kind of cool. What was he doing? Like, how did he get to his place?" So he was actually getting ready to make a movie about Colonel Kurtz. Do you know Colonel Kurtz?
Oh, you stumped me on that.
Come on, man. So there's another very
Gypsy?
famous. No. All right. There's another very famous movie called Apocalypse Now that is based on this.
Okay.
Right.
That we've heard of.
So Apocalypse Now happened to be my favorite movie of all time.
That's one of my
Probably because I was young and impressionable, and there was big explosions and Wagner playing
And
during,
incredible cinematography.
and surfing, right?
Yes.
And surfing. That's what really drew me to the movie. So I did some research into this cat, Orson Welles, and I realized that he was going to do this movie. He was going to do the movie many, many years ago, and Paramount said, "No, we're not doing it." And he ended up making Citizen Kane. So I was like, wait a second, you mean filmmakers?
You went from that to that.
Right. So that's what really kind of turned the switch on for me, to be, instead of a movie buff, to really want to be a movie maker.
Right.
So when I got out of film school, I studied with some people that were very interesting. I got to do a short intern with the guy that made Apocalypse Now, so we all know who Francis Ford Coppola is. Was very fortunate to be able to be up in San Francisco. I worked on a crazy project called Pollo at Squatzy and Caio Squatzy, if you know what those are.
No.
Yeah, they're they were art films.
Does it have anything to do with 3 letters and guys from Virginia or something?
No, but they were all based on Hopi spiritualism.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So really cool stuff, all based on it was all used Philip Glass's music. Very artsy stuff.
Yeah, Philip
Super
Glass
art.
is a little weird.
Very
A
weird.
little too weird.
And these films are legitimately the weirdest films I've ever seen. But I was fortunate enough to be a part of them, right? So when I left there, the very first thing that happened to me is I was asked if I wanted to go to Africa. And I wanted to shoot some photos in Africa. And I was like, I was very young, very impressionable.
Absolutely.
I'm like, absolutely. I want to roam around the Serengeti in a freaking, 4-wheel drive, and I want to take pictures of lions. Yeah, no, that's not what happened. So I get on a plane, and this is back before they had direct flights into Nairobi or anywhere down, right?
And did you had all your film gear packed with you? Photography. It was all photography.
Okay. So they gave me a Nikon. This is part of what I was happy about. They gave me a Nikon F4, which is a film camera. This is in the old film days. 2 lenses, and enough money to get a hotel room the night I arrived and the night I left, so I could take a shower before I got on the plane. And a per diem of like $20 a day. Yeah. That's what I got.
So you were living large.
I was living large. Right, I was living large. Me and the cats in the alley, we were happy. So I arrive in South Africa. I arrive in Joburg, South Africa, and I get off the plane, and I'm thinking to myself, not a lot of animals around here. And I walk out the front door of the airport, and 3 guys get shot.
Jesus.
Outside the front door of the airport.
Turn around.
So
you're either going to turn around or it's going to light a fire under you because you've got cameras.
Right.
And you can get some of this.
Right. So now I start to realize that I am not in, your grandmother's Africa. I'm literally in a place where, there is huge strife amongst the populace, right? People are killing each other left and right. It's a big problem down there.
Yeah.
So I decided to go out and start shooting photos. And I'm there for, I don't know, a week and a half, 2 weeks, just about maybe 11 or 12 days. And I'm leaving a small restaurant that had, South African barbecue food, right? And I'm leaving this little restaurant with my monopod and my F4 and my camera bag. And as I walk out the front of this door, and I hear some commotion up the road. And I look up the road and I see some people. I hear some screams, whatever's happening up there. I can't really see because there's cars lined up along the side of the road. So I pick up my camera and I start taking photos. Now you got 36 photos, right? I may have had 30 left in my camera. So I follow whatever commotion is coming down the road over the top of the cars. And I capture a photo of a tiny kid, maybe 9 years old, no shirt, no shoes, no pants, just a pair of shorts on, in full stride, literally just in full stride. And behind him, because I used a long lens, the whole thing was even compressed a little more. There was a pickup truck with a bunch of guys in the pickup truck with guns, rifles. Jesus. And they had these looks on their face like they're just ready to
get him,
kill this kid, right? And they are trying to run this kid over with their pickup truck.
And these weren't this was not police. It wasn't military. This was
just African, people who lived in South Africa. It was a bad thing. Now, what we learned later was that there was some words, up the road between this kid and these guys, and they got mad, and whatever happened happened. Right. But he somehow or another escapes and finds his way around the other side of this old, broken down, very decrepit fountain. Right? So he had run around the other side of the fountain, and as I'm holding the camera, taking these photos, one of the guys in the back of the pickup truck is watching me, and he bangs on the hood, and they slide to a stop, and I run out of photos. I run out of film. Yeah. So I reach down to my camera bag, and I'm down on the camera bag. I'm trying to get my film reloaded, and as I stand up, I feel somebody kick me. I thought somebody had kicked me. Right? And kind of spun me around a little bit. I was like, what the hell was that, right? And there's nobody anywhere near me. And then I hear this crazy report of a sound like bouncing off all the buildings. What the hell is this, So I look back up at the truck, and the guy is now cocking his bolt-action rifle, right? And he points the gun in my direction. And I'm looking around thinking, who's this guy shooting at, right? And I realize he's shooting at me. I hear a ding behind my head.
Jesus.
And then this same crazy report around this area that I was standing
this guy's putting rounds aiming at your head, and the rounds are actually going past you.
And ricocheting.
The first round did not go past me. The first round actually hit me in the arm.
Holy
broke
shit.
my arm, the big bone in my arm. And my
Holy
arm,
shit.
it wasn't a compound fracture, but the bone was pushing against the inside of my skin. Now, I didn't realize this at this point.
So when you reached out your camera bag, you had been shot, but you didn't know it.
I hadn't been shot until I stood back up.
Okay.
The minute I stood back up, he hit me. Now, apparently, he missed me the second time.
Thank
Good
God.
for him. God bless. But I realized that he was shooting at me when I, as a gun knowledgeable guy, figured out that the bullet was reaching my position before the sound reached me.
Yeah.
So,
which is why hunting works.
Right. That's right. So I spun around, I grabbed all my crap, and I tried to run back through the restaurant. And as I reached down to grab the handle on the restaurant,
that's when you realized
the leverage of my muscles and everything working against my little bone
was shot.
Broke my little bone in my arm. So now I have two broken bones in my arm, and my hand is all
contorted.
So I'm trying to get the door open. I run through the restaurant screaming like a baby, like a child. I was crying. I'm like, this guy just shot me, and I'm running through the restaurant. People are watching me.
They're like, have a nice day.
I'm like, they must have been crazy.
But that's fucking scary, because now you're like, how am I going to get medical care? How am I going to get out of here? I'm done. So crying's okay, man.
Yes. All of those things came into my head later, right? But at the acute moment of that experience, I was like, run for your life. These people are going to chase you down and they're going to kill you. Yeah. So I ran through the restaurant, and I ran for what felt like 30 minutes. It may have been 2.
Right.
And I found myself up, one of these telephone booths where I kind of squatted down in the telephone booth, and I called my bureau chief, and I was like, hey, man, I just got shot, right? And he says, without even breaking a sweat, he's like, oh, where did you get shot? He was a Scottish guy. His name was Seamus.
Of course.
Awesome.
Seamus.
Yeah.
I walk it off.
Hey, have a whiskey.
Don't worry, you're going to be fine.
Pack it with haggis.
He says, where did you get shot? And I said, in the arm. And he's like, no, you dummy. Like, where are you so we can come get you? So I told him, I'm in front of this place.
I'm in the telephone booth.
Right. So a few minutes later, 10 minutes later, a 15-year-old kid in a white Peugeot pulls up, and I hop in the back seat. And I realized I was in the wrong business at that moment when I'm back there and I'm holding my arm and I'm crying, and the guy's like, are you all right? And I'm like, no, I'm shot, I'm bleeding. And he took me to the freaking desk, to the bureau desk, to drop off my film.
Oh, wow.
Before I went to the hospital.
Wow.
Holy shit. Yeah. Wow.
So I was like, wow, okay, so do
So
I want to continue doing this?
That shows you how important you are.
Yeah, I'm just a dude with a camera that knows how to point it and focus it.
And bust it down.
And
Right.
and did you leave that position after that point, or?
So that was a freelance job. So I got that job through an organization that was a kind of a stock arm of a pretty well-known magazine, who I won't mention. Mm-hmm. But that stock arm, their job was to do nothing more than just capture content.
Real life, right.
Just content. They just wanted content to be able to have and sell to the news.
library of content. Yeah.
Right. So that's all I was there for.
Yeah.
I wasn't there as a, feature reporter, feature photographer. I was just a dude taking photos for a place that wanted to sell the photos for a few bucks and make some money. Mm-hmm. That's what I was there for. So fortunately, I got my, they fixed my arm up, and I got back home, and, and I started thinking about, like, what do I really want to do, right? I really wanted to be a director, but I didn't know what that meant at the time.
Right.
I didn't really have a clear understanding of what that meant. I knew I wanted to make movies, but, movies meant an hour and a half worth of content, spending weeks, months.
Editing.
Yeah, shooting, editing, right, all this stuff. In the commercial world, you spend 2 days and you send it out, and you're making more money for the 2 days you're spending for the 30 days that all my friends were making on the movie side.
Time is money.
Right. So I decided that commercials were my bag.
But you still, we got to show some footage, but you still show there's such depth going on in everything that you do, and that doesn't have to be lost just because it's commercial.
No, and what was really fortunate for me is I was, allowed to vie this trade during a time when, the barrier of entry in the film world was ginormous, right? So, my friends and I, when we started making commercials, we literally would go work on a movie or a project or a commercial, whatever. My friend Bruce was a DP. I was a director, but I was like an art director at the time. Right. And at the end of the day, Bruce was always responsible for taking the $1 million Panavision gold package back to his house and keeping it safe.
Always.
And so Bruce and I, and we would all like leave, and we would rush to some place that we had already kind of predestined to shoot something ourselves. Yeah. And we would work all night, and then we would try to sleep for 20 minutes on the concrete floor, and then we would get up and go back to the original set. Yeah. And we did this for a long time, right? Until I finally got to a point where I could, invest in some camera gear and start a production company. Well, within about, 10 years of starting that production company, the world started to go digital. Right? So I'm now at the forefront of this business where I'm having a great time. I'm traveling around the world. I'm shooting in Barcelona and Ibiza and all these great spots. Puerto. You've been to Puerto, right? Haven't we talked about that? Puerto in Portugal, right?
No, I have not been to Portugal. I'm dying to do Portugal.
Have you been to Portugal?
No.
Dying to do the Azores. Yeah.
So
bucket list.
all of a sudden, all these people start coming out with these cameras that are, a tenth of the price.
Yeah. And half the size.
Right, and half the size.
Right.
And even back then, right, we were all excited about it, but I was a very late adopter of the digital world. So I stayed in film. I was really was committed to staying with film and doing it the best way I could. And then, probably about 10 or 12 years ago, the digital cameras became good enough to start making the stuff I wanted to make.
Adapt or move on.
That's exactly right.
Can we show? Do you have that? So one of the things that you do too, which I think is phenomenal. You brought your professional drone pilot.
I love that footage.
You also are a helicopter pilot,
correct?
And you have your FAA license for drone shooting,
correct?
Can I just say one thing real quick? I went to Panama, and when you have to fly back, you have to put your occupation on there. So me and my boy, who actually is a mixologist also now, he's a brand ambassador for Casa Noble.
Oh, nice.
Yes, I put on there a helicopter instructor.
Oh, you did really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
beautiful.
back.
It was great.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, except when the plane when the plane's having issues, they're like,
that's a plane, not a helicopter.
so you still got basics, who's the most qualified here? I think there's a helicopter pilot down there.
He drank far too much.
I had a drinking problem.
That's right.
Yeah. All you have to do is say, I just drank some alcohol, and they'll leave you alone.
Yeah.
They'll just leave you alone.
Or it might not make a difference.
Right, exactly.
Might help.
There you go. There you go. So, so this is your aerial footage.
Okay. Yep, this is the aerial reel.
So maybe we're trying.
We got the audio.
We got some good audio.
Let's go. There you go.
It's going.
We were hunters and foragers. The frontier was everywhere.
Maybe not.
We were bounded only by the earth.
But it's good.
This is what happens when the engineer has a meltdown.
So let me explain.
Or no equipment.
Let me explain what is happening in my best helicopter pilot voice.
So there's actually a poem.
Well, and let me tell you what that is. So that's Carl Sagan.
Yeah.
And Carl, in the most kind of in the purest way, is a poet.
Yeah.
I don't think he really talked about himself like a poet.
Right.
But when you listen to Carl Sagan and you listen to him talk about quarks and freaking molecules and physics and the world and he is so passionate.
Yeah.
So when I originally did this, my whole idea was I'm looking at something from way up high, right? And what does that mean, right? And the first thing that came to my mind was, planet Earth, looking down.
Yep.
And the first person that came to my mind was Carl Sagan. You just can't, you can't. So that's who I used as the.
Now, did you actually get him to voice over that?
Oh, no. This is a very famous Carl Sagan saying. Yeah. So sorry, Carl, I didn't send you a check for that. But
Okay.
No, it's all public. It's all public.
That's
domain,
all public
but
domain at this point. Yeah. It's a really, really
powerful.
And you did the same thing on your actual reel.
Yes, with a different thing. But the show reel is a whole kind of a different thing. It's bigger energy. It's it's a totally different thing. But the aerial reel, I really wanted to kind of be able to punch down from up high and let people see, from this kind of lofty view, right? What the world really looked like.
Yeah.
And Carl Sagan was a perfect voice for that.
And do you get clients specifically calling you, asking you about drone shooting?
Sure. Yes, and the unfortunate part is when the drones kind of first started becoming a thing, right?
Right.
What's that, 5 years ago now? Longer?
Yeah, maybe around 5 years.
Okay.
But they really started becoming very popular about 3 years ago.
Right.
The real early adopters were 5 years ago. That was me. I bought one of the very first Inspire drones. But we were getting a lot of calls from surveyors and real estate people. And
right. It was very, very one-dimensional.
Right. It was very transactional. And hey, can you come take drone video of my $20 million house. Well, sure.
There's no story. There's no feeling. There's no concept.
Right. I just need to be able to sell my $20 million house.
Right.
So a lot of those I turned down, frankly, and to the dismay of my accountant, who was looking at all these numbers flying by that we could have made, but we didn't. And I'm very glad I didn't. Frankly, because in the world of drone photography now, there's a lot of people out there who are doing unbelievable work. Right.
Yeah, right.
It's so powerful.
Yeah.
If it's done well.
It has to be done well.
Right.
It really does. You can't just put a drone up and
Right.
There has to be some dynamic movement and.
That's right.
Yeah. So.
Oh, all good. It's just it's incredibly powerful if it's done well, and tricky. And I remember he actually came up. We went up to
you went up to Anthony's Nose, right?
We went up to Anthony's Nose.
That was cool.
That was for the distillery.
No, it was just kind of like for the day. We were just kind of going up and
we were just trotting around really steep cliffs in the middle of like upstate New York.
Yeah, this was up near Bear Mountain, New York. Yeah. And it was a place called Anthony's Nose, and it was it's a great spot for eagle watching. And we actually had
the drone video,
the drone with the hawk kind of coming after it. But it was he's got your drone it's expensive. It's
Well, the one that I had at that time was I guess. As it was equipped, was probably about $5,500 is really what it was worth. I mean, the new ones now I have one with a micro four thirds camera and like different lenses.
And I'm sure the technology is changing every 5 minutes.
Ridiculous.
I'm sure.
So now my drone is worth about $12,000. Right. But I can adjust focus and everything right from the ground. Right. And I have an iPad Pro.
Right.
So it's a totally different experience. But coming from aerial photography in the helicopter world, right? One of my mentors when I
Magnum PI?
Yeah, Magnum PI. And I need my porn stash back, just to say. But one of my mentors in the aviation world was a guy who did, his name is Clay Lacey. Okay. And Clay Lacey did all the aerial photography for Top Gun.
Oh, cool.
Right? So he's flying around in a Lear 35, like with a, Westcam camera and a dude in the back. These guys are like legit flying around at Mach Snot, like taking video or taking, film at the time of F-14s,
They were the true Top Gunners.
They were the people, right? So Clay Lacey, fortunately enough, he was a guy that kind of taught me really kind of what it meant to like have a good shot from the air. Yeah. And what I realized very soon after I started doing drone work was you can't do only drone work. If you only do a drone shot and that's all you do,
then it's not a drone shot. You've got to go from something to something.
Right. You need to actually incorporate, stuff on the ground, and they're using it a lot now in car commercials and all these beautiful, kind of these big beautiful drone shots in movies.
Right. Yeah, one of your shots that we were watching earlier, the aerial, you were going across a cornfield.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't necessarily
and then you went up,
right?
Which made you understand if you're just up there, you could be in there.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Right. Did you guys happen to see the one where you just raised straight up over the top of the clouds? Did you see that?
Yes.
Was that the beginning?
He didn't
that
see
was
that
at the
one.
end.
I saw that one.
Oh yeah.
That's incredible.
Well, that's one of those. That's one of those shots that it's. So I started over the top of this lake called Candlewood Lake up in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Candlewood.
Oh, very well.
And it was a very, very foggy day, right? So there's this haze and this fog, and I rose the drone straight up. So you see the lake for a minute, and then you go up into this gray cloud cover, and then all of a sudden, like you
popped up
emerge out over the top of the cloud layers,
awesome.
And the sun was rising right over the top of the horizon just as I popped up. Could have been, and totally luck. It was totally luck. There was
you're like, let's send it up through the cloud and see what happens.
This was not like I didn't wake up one day and do the freaking sunrise sunset. I wasn't. I wasn't doing
timed.
Right. Nothing at all. I just happened to be out there.
That's cool.
We may have this this reel up.
We might. Oh, here we go. We got it.
I figured it out.
All right.
All right. Here we go. Wait.
By the way, our engineer is the bomb.
Gypsy's the best.
I blame the
There we go.
liquor. Great drinks, by the way.
Yeah, very good.
I told you we didn't need like
3 hours.
We were hunters and foragers. The frontier was everywhere. We were bounded only by the earth and the ocean and the sky. The open road still softly calls. Our little terraqueous globe is the madhouse of those 100,000 millions of worlds.
that. Yeah, well done, man.
Thank you, bro.
Well done. And
And that's the camera.
and we've only got like a few minutes left.
Yeah.
We got to have you back on.
We didn't
Because
get started.
We haven't even.
We didn't even start.
We haven't even begun. All right. So your company, if we need to get in touch with you,
Sure.
It's Q36 Creative.
Correct.
We'll post on our website.
Love it. Thank you.
There is Q36 Creative on Instagram.
Yes.
Before we go, I just kind of wanted, because we're all kind of collectively here.
Yeah.
Kind of threw it out to you guys. 3 things on your bucket list.
Oh.
You think,
Oh, God.
you think we can do this in
We got
like?
this in
You
2
think we can do this in
Sure.
in like 3 to 4 minutes? If
Sure.
we go a minute over, we're good. All right, Tracy. 3 things on your bucket list.
Climb a big mountain. Something not necessarily Everest, but something like Makalu, right? 5th highest mountain in the world. I used to
Doable.
climb a lot. Definitely doable. Almost did it a couple years ago, but didn't quite make it. And number 2, which is really important to me, is I'm trying to learn a new language, right?
cool.
So I'm already kind of knee deep in the process, although I'm very far away from actually knowing a language. And then I want to have my banda. Banda means house in Tanzania. Probably in the Ruaha area or Rotia Valley, and maybe like up in, there's an area called Ololo Sokwe just off the Serengeti, which one of those 3 areas in Tanzania.
You're happy.
Happy.
You're good.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
Namaste. All right,
Rich,
my
you're
3. Ride on the wing of an aeroplane.
Whoa.
Okay.
I would love
Rich!
to. Strap me to the wing of an airplane. And
Okay.
just ride it out.
There's a new series on Netflix called Extraordinary Houses, and the first episode, the first house, they actually the roof is made of the wings of
Really?
a Boeing 747.
Shut up!
It took them. The
That's
story is amazing. The woman bought the Boeing because they have the graveyard,
Yeah.
and you buy it for $50,000.
Mojave.
She had to get like all those alphabet agencies. She had to get like clearance from like 35 of them.
Yeah.
Like it was ridiculous.
That's
But
awesome.
you can literally walk out on the wing, and it's in where is it? Somewhere outside of LA, out in the middle of nowhere.
Of course
It's
it
amazing.
is.
They probably got him from the airplane graveyard.
Mojave.
Yeah, that's exactly where it is.
Mojave
Yeah.
Airport.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Number 2, a play date with baby chimpanzees.
I can help you with
That's
that.
cool.
My wife would have to be there for that one.
Yeah.
That's great.
You might leave with the monkeys.
Leave her there, leave with the monkey.
That's right.
And 3rd, own a bar restaurant of some kind, which is talked about doing for years. Just like I'd love to own a small little restaurant, comfort food, nice little cozy bar. Done.
And
Let me know when it opens.
With the pub
Oh,
dog.
no. Pub dog.
Gotta have a
Pub
pub dog.
Wow, that's cool.
Maddie.
All right, so I've got 3 things. One does have to do with the plane. I'm dying to get in. I hate flying. Anybody that knows me, I'm terrified flying. I'm flying tomorrow. I've got flight meds. I just don't do flying, but I do it. I'll fly anywhere.
Sure.
I just am not well. But I want to go on a jet fighter.
I can help you with that too.
I want to be strapped. I want to be strapped in.
He can help you with that too.
I want to grab the joystick.
Bring a bag.
And that's what I want to do. I want to feel like Mach.
Bring
that's
a
what
bag.
I want to feel.
Yeah.
What else? This is kind of weird. Something I've always wanted to do. It's just going to take some time, and it's an investment. I want to learn how to play the Irish pipes.
Whoa.
Yeah.
But
all right.
I want to learn how to play the Irish pipes. I've always wanted to learn how to play it. And I want to, and this goes into my third bucket list, which is similar to yours. I want to climb a great mountain.
Oh.
And I'm not sure which one. Doable. But I want to play the bagpipes at the top of the mountain.
That's cool. With baby
Are you going to have enough air to do it?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I'll bring a tank.
Okay, very good.
It's got to be below 20,000 feet. So. But
well, I'll make a suggestion.
Yeah.
You can probably get a couple things on your bucket list. Go do Kilimanjaro in Tanzania.
Yeah.
19,000 feet. It's a long uphill walk. It's not a climb. There's no technical aspects of Kilimanjaro. And you are at the top of the world.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'll bring the pipes.
Yeah.
Irish pipes are smaller, too.
They are.
Yeah. There you go.
You will.
That's cool.
Will you play at my... what am I going to have soon? Funeral?
Only if you play at mine.
Lovely compliment.
Oh, God. All right. Well, with that,
we're out.
Trace, thank you so much.
Brilliant.
We've just started, so you do have to come back on.
I am happy to.
Okay, game on. If you need to find Tracy Allen, Q36 Creative, we'll put it on our Facebook page.
Check us out.
Check us out on Facebook page.
Instagram.
We'll see you in 2 weeks. I'm heading to the Bahamas for some spearfishing, so we'll have some fun stuff.
And I'm getting better.
And you are on the mend.
On the mend.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Peace. Carry on.
This is Rogues on the Road with Matt Froman and Rich Marshall, where we talk food, travel, craft beverages, and everything in between.